Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. And today we're talking about everybody's favorite social media platform. Maybe, I don't know, I'm making things up, but we're talking about LinkedIn. If you like it, if you hate it, I don't know. Stick around. I promise you're going to learn something. And I have an amazing guest with me who's going to facilitate this conversation because, you know, if you're a listener of the show, I know nothing about LinkedIn. So Colin Hirdman, welcome to the show and thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, Brandon. I can guarantee you and your audience will love LinkedIn by the time we're done with this podcast.
Yeah, I'm secretly on the edge of my seat here because I'm like, ooh, this is the platform that I haven't cracked. I know nothing about, but I desperately want to. And I have a feeling a lot of our listeners are in the same place. But I'm curious, are you talking to people like me, or do you prefer to talk to LinkedIn experts? Where is this conversation best suited?
Yeah, I love talking to anyone that is a founder, entrepreneur, or anyone that sits in a sales or marketing seat. And it doesn't matter whether you're a solopreneur or whether you have a large business with a big sales team. What we're going to talk about today is applicable for everyone.
I love that. Okay. So then let's set the stage. What's going to be the best way for us to hear this conversation? Should we have our LinkedIn open on the side? Should we pause this conversation if we're driving, or should we listen to the whole thing, digest it, and then figure out what's best for us? What's the best way to implement this?
Yeah, I think listen to it first, and then go back and pause at the points at which I'm giving very specific advice on what you should be doing within your LinkedIn account.
Fantastic. I love it. Okay, so let's dive right in. We got 15 minutes and a lot of knowledge to get through. So when you are first meeting with a client or someone approaches you about wanting to grow their LinkedIn, have more sales, more leads, more attention, and grow their network, whatever it may be, where do you typically start with them? What is step one?
Yeah. So step one for me is really getting into the right mindset. And that to me is the LinkedIn philosophy that I think you have to adopt if you want to be successful on LinkedIn. So there's a few things. Number one, you have to be authentic and genuine. I think most people are that. LinkedIn typically is not a toxic place. It's very, friendly. It's business oriented. People want to do business there. They want to build relationships. They want to hire. They want to be hired. They want to be able to build relationships and find vendors that they can trust. They want to buy and sell. So LinkedIn also has a monopoly on a business social network. Like, it is the player. It's growing like crazy all around the world. So you have to be there. And to start off, you got to be authentic and genuine. I think people also want to conversate in a conversational tone. You don't need to be like overly professional. Just be yourself. The second thing is you have to approach it with an educational mindset. No one wants to be sold on LinkedIn. Okay. So with that educational mindset, that will prime you for what I'll be talking about in a moment, for success. But the other thing is you have to also have an experimentation mindset, knowing that you're going to try things out. Some things are going to work better than others, but you're in it for the long haul, and that you want to really start to figure out what works and what doesn't with your audience. So the last thing that I'll say is, and this is where I put a lot of pressure on myself as a founder entrepreneur, and I'll put that same pressure on anyone else that's a founder entrepreneur or sitting in that marketing or sales seat, which is you have to understand the pains and the barriers that your prospects are trying to overcome. You have to know what it is they want to be educated on. And most importantly, you have to know what it is they want to learn from you. What can you teach? And I was at a conference last week, and I just loved this, which is the more you teach, the more you sell. And that was just kind of a general saying. It wasn't applied to LinkedIn, but I'm going to apply it to LinkedIn now. And I think it's just a phenomenal way to approach LinkedIn. I know as an entrepreneur or a sales or marketer, we desperately want to close the next deal, right? We get that. We love getting traction. We love making sales, but somehow emotionally you have to distance yourself from that and just realize, especially with B2B, you have to build relationship. You have to get them comfortable. You got to date before you marry. Okay. So that's my general philosophy is you got to be authentic and genuine, come with an educational experimentation mindset, and know what it is your audience wants to learn from you. Okay. So that will set you up for success. The layer underneath that then is around audience building. And I'm using Sales Navigator typically to build my audiences. Sales Navigator is a sales tool that LinkedIn provides. If I'm working with a client, I can use my Sales Navigator if they don't have it, but I'm typically going to build all my audiences out of Sales Navigator. One way that I've been thinking about, like, well, how do I identify people that might be further down the purchase path? And there's a couple ways of doing that. So one would be LinkedIn events. So if you have a direct competitor that's putting on a LinkedIn event, or maybe there's an industry organization that's putting on an event that's has to do with a topic that your business solves for, if you go and you attend that LinkedIn event, you can see everyone else that's also attending that event. And you could actually then start to create a prospect list off of that audience because they publicly raised their hand and said, this is who I am and I'm interested in learning about this topic. Okay, so that's one way that you could use LinkedIn events to start to hone in on your audience of prospects that are further down the purchase path. Another would be using a person as a proxy. So there's a woman on LinkedIn. She's got about 70,000 followers. And I reached out to connect with her. She connected back with me. And because her connections are open on LinkedIn, I can go into Sales Navigator and I can say, okay, I want to see everyone connected to Brenda that is a second and third degree connection to me, but is a first degree connection to her. Because I know that they're most likely following her because they want to learn how to grow on LinkedIn. And those people then are probably good candidates for me to start building a relationship with because they might very well be interested in Rainmaker. So those are a couple of hacks using LinkedIn events and then using other people, other like thought leaders within your industry as a proxy. Okay. So we've kind of talked about philosophy. We've talked about, audience building. And then finally, it's strategies. Like, how do you now kind of activate these audiences that you've identified? So there's a few foundational things that we're doing. The first is building out more first connections. Okay, when we build out first connections, we're reaching out to 25 people a day, Monday through Friday during normal working hours. So that's 125 people a week, 500 people a month. We're typically getting between a 10 and a 40% conversion rate on those connections coming back. We're almost always not including a connection message, but that could be something that you might want to experiment with. Would be if you want to put in a connection message. It's just hard to reach out to that audience at 25 a day and like have something as a connection message and not maybe feel a little canned. And so sometimes it's just better to focus in on these people without a connection message. And if you're focusing in on second degree connections or people that might be in the same geography as you, or maybe the same industry, you're most likely going to have mutual connections. And that's the number one reason why someone will choose to connect with you or not, is if there's mutual connections. And a lot of times people, it's not that they don't want to connect with you. A lot of times they're just busy. Your invite gets pushed down and they might not see it. So one of the things that we do with, if after 30 days, the person doesn't connect back, then we withdraw the invite. Okay. These are all functions within LinkedIn. You could go into your LinkedIn account right now and you could see all these old invites that you've sent that are over, 30 days old, and you could actually start withdrawing those invites. When you withdraw an invite, there's a 3-week period of time where you can't re-invite that person to connect again. But after that, you can ask them to connect again. So what you want to do is kind of create these pools of people that you could go back to at a later date and ask them to connect. Okay, so that's connecting. That's building out your audience. And then, as you're posting organic content, you have a larger prospect audience that might see your posts and whatnot. So it's just good practice to continually grow out your audience. It also helps with, a couple of the other campaign types that we'll talk about. Then a lot of times we'll bolt on like a messaging campaign after someone connects. And so, I'm saying, build probably 2 or 3 messages out. The first message should not be selling anything. You should only be thanking them for the connection. Don't even try and help. Just thank them authentically for the connection. Okay. So I have a client, it's a law firm, and he's in the blockchain space. And after he connects, he says like, "Hey, Colin, thanks again for connecting. I'm really passionate about the blockchain industry. I know you are as well. Cheers," something like that. And he knows that anybody that's a blockchain founder, and those are the people he's trying to connect with, is very passionate about the blockchain space. You can't really be in it without being passionate. So even just his thank you message for connecting, he has, some purpose to some of the language that he's using. And then if they respond, you just, respond to that in your inbox. If they don't respond, then typically, we'll send another message like a week or 2 later. And that's where you want to start adding value. Okay. That adding value could be asking them a question. It could be inviting them to participate in an industry poll that you're doing. It could be providing some type of an asset that you've written. Maybe it's a LinkedIn article. Maybe it's something on your website. Maybe there's an industry article that, some big company put together that you think your target audience would be interested in learning about, right? Maybe there's a LinkedIn live stream that you're doing, or an event that you're doing that you want to invite them to. Okay, there's all these things that you can be doing that isn't asking for a meeting. It's not asking them to, start doing business with you. What you're doing is demonstrating your thought leadership. You're starting to build trust with this person. You're giving, and you're not expecting anything in return. And so that's really what subsequent messages should be. So that's really kind of the key as it pertains to, building out an audience, building out your first connections, starting to do some messaging to kind of try and get that audience to begin to engage. And then, one of the campaign types that I've been using that I've had a lot of success with are LinkedIn live streams. And they're really fantastic in a couple of ways. So number one, as you're growing out your first connections, you can only invite people to a LinkedIn event if they're a first connection of yours, right? So there's benefit to you having a bigger audience of prospects because you could invite them to your LinkedIn events. And with a LinkedIn live stream, LinkedIn wants more live streams. LinkedIn is competing against the other social networks. They want people to stay in LinkedIn. And so LinkedIn will help promote your live stream, when you go live. And so what I'm typically doing with my live streams is I'm identifying an audience. I'm identifying a topic. I'm creating the live stream event. And then I use LinkedIn event invite function to start beginning to invite my audience to the live stream. And the great thing about that is that the invites come in the alerts. So it's not like a message where it's right in everybody's face. It's a nice soft touch where you're not going to burn out your audience, and you're simply inviting them to a live stream learning event that you're doing. If no one is clicking the attend button, then either your audience or your topic or both are off. But if you're getting people to click attend, now you know that your topic and your audience, that topic is starting to resonate with that audience. Then when you do the live stream, I use a product called StreamYard. You have to use a third-party product, and it streams right in. There's lots of other products out there that you can use as well. But then I'll do my live stream. It's usually about 30 minutes long. And I'm have been teaching, about how to grow your LinkedIn network leads and sales in some depth. And then I even have another one that I started doing, which is teaching people how to do LinkedIn live streams. What I love about the live streams is that when the event is over, the video, the live stream gets saved on LinkedIn as a recording on the event page forever. You can download the video off of StreamYard, and you could break that up into video snippets that you could use for organic posts. Sometimes you'll get questions from your audience during the live stream, which you could also turn into organic posts if those are some good questions and you have a good answer. The other thing is I follow up with each attendee. after the event. And I'll say like, hey, Brandon, thanks again for registering for the LinkedIn live stream I led this morning. Here's a link to the recording. And then underneath that, I'll put, if you ever want to chat LinkedIn strategy, feel free to grab some time convenient for you here. And then I give my Calendly. Okay. We know, especially for any B2B, meetings are the lifeblood of your business, right? No one just buys your services. Typically, they want to talk to you and they want to better understand your pricing and your services and how you can benefit them. But the great thing about the live streams is that you're demonstrating knowledge. These attendees have enough trust in you that they're pressing the attend button and you know who they are. And so when you send that Calendly as a follow-up, it doesn't feel salesy or pushy. Doesn't feel icky to that person in any way. It's just a natural next step if they want to progress their learnings from you and have a meeting to chat. So I think live streams on LinkedIn is one of the best ways that I've ever seen using a social network to allow you to actually start filling your pipeline up with conversations, with leads, with real prospects, and being able to turn then some of those into customers. So I'll pause there because I've done a lot of talking, but yeah, happy to take the conversation wherever else you might want me to take it, Brandon.
I mean, that right there was a whole LinkedIn masterclass. That was beautiful. I loved all of it. I personally, I have about 612 questions.
Yep.
There's not time for all that. But I will say this, because if I have questions, I'm sure the audience has questions. Put them in the comment section, or if you're in our Facebook group, go over there, ask the questions there, and we can start a conversation about this. I would also encourage you. I'm sure Colin's going to say this at the end, but his link is down below. Go follow him on LinkedIn and go attend some of these virtual workshops. I know I'm going to do that. I just connected before we started recording. I love this strategy though of the events, and I'm just thinking back to my own experience on the platform, and Facebook is no different. I think all the platforms are kind of the same, where you will get those people that reach out and they sell you in the first message, and that's not at all what you're talking about. But it's nice to see the huge contrast between the two, especially with the I've hosted a couple events and invited people, and you use the words, it's a soft invite. It's to the point where I've had people apologize to me that they couldn't make it because it feels like a personal invitation. And I'm like,
yeah,
thank you, but I also invited 1,200 of your closest friends at the same time. But it really is a great strategy, and I appreciate you sharing that. I'm curious on this, when you do follow up, do you have any rough metrics? Because you said appointments are the lifeblood of your business. Do you have any rough metrics on the willingness of people to actually book an appointment? I don't care about closed sales, but how many of those people, because you added value, are then receptive to that meeting?
Yeah. So I would probably say that, I'm probably around like a 3 to 5% book rate when I do these, which isn't horrible. I think it's pretty good. And I have closed multiple Rainmaker clients in doing these. I've also seen multiple benefits coming off of that, where I'm getting referrals then as well from some of these people that have come in through the live stream, right? And you start to provide good service, and now they are giving you referrals. And that's really the best way to grow your business ultimately, is word of mouth, because you're doing a good job and you have happy customers. So I think having the live stream is, just one of the tools in your toolbox is a great way to kind of keep your content up to date, continuing to engage with your audience. And the other thing is, the nice thing about the live streams is I'm not creating like net new content every week. I have essentially been using a lot of the same content over the last like 5 or 6 months since I started doing it. So I've made small iterations to it, certainly, but I'm not spending tons of time trying to think of like what to say. I've already identified, a live stream, a topic area, and content that has high value. And so now I'm just reaching out to different discrete audiences, right? So I'm doing it for founders, or for sales executives, or for business coaches, or fractionals, right? So, and I'm marketing then these live streams to those different audiences discreetly. where most of the content is the same regardless of the audience, but the audience will, number one, resonate with the topic, then number two, feel like, that this presentation was built just for them. And certainly there's a little bit of customization in there, but not a lot. A lot of the content is the same regardless of who you are. But those are just some little tips to help your audience think about as they're creating their content, and the audiences to help that just resonate a little bit more specifically to the audiences that they'd be marketing these to.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I was curious about that actually. So when you're inviting people, are you segmenting in Sales Navigator or in another platform? Okay.
Yep. I'm segmenting in Sales Navigator, and I'm able to build the audiences out there. And Sales Navigator is nice because there's more filters and you can save the audiences. You can use regular LinkedIn search to do some stuff too if you don't have a Sales Navigator account. But Sales Navigator just makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. No, I agree. Because I was thinking about having to filter through all your connections when inviting them to an event, and that's just impossible. But it's a good
Right. Yeah. And even with Sales Navigator, you can identify an audience, but you'd still have to, if you're going to do it manually, you'd still have to go in and invite each person by, looking up their name and then checking the box and clicking the invite. So again, that's, Rainmaker is automating really best practices within LinkedIn, and does it in a non-spammy way, and really is just freeing up time for the person that I'd be managing the account on. So,
yeah, I love it. Colin, this is a fantastic conversation. And if you're anything like me and you're listening, you're excited, but also terrified, because that sounded like a lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of time. And I think you have a solution for all three of those, or else you wouldn't be telling us about all of them, because you, I assume, don't do all those yourself either. So talk to me a little bit about Rainmaker, how people can learn about it, learn about you, and see if it's a good fit for them.
Yeah, that's great. Well, ultimately, Rainmaker, like I said, is just automating best practices on LinkedIn, and everything that I'm doing is within my client's LinkedIn account, so they can log in anytime and see the invites sent. They can see messages sent. They can look at their LinkedIn analytics, and that'll be representative of everything that they and I am doing on the account. I really want rainmakergrows.com to be an educational resource. So there's information about like my whole live stream process. There's a live stream page on the website that people can go and they can look at the whole process and how I use live streams on LinkedIn. There's a campaigns page that talks about like the 12 campaign types that we automate that they could look at to get an understanding of like what they should be doing on their account. Again, they could go do all this manually if they wanted. And then the consult button on that just books a time with me. So right now I'm the only person in Rainmaker, so I'm doing all the strategy work with the clients, and then I'm doing all the automation with my software and my process on the back end. But I love talking about this stuff, and I really love helping entrepreneurs, founders, and anybody that's sitting in a sales or marketing seat better understand how to use LinkedIn. So feel free to grab some time, convenient for you through any of those links on the site, and I'd love to have a chat.
I love it. Colin, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I'm excited to take the next step. Go follow Colin on LinkedIn, as I already told you, and go to some of these live, the virtual events that he's talking about. See how he does his process, and all the links and everything are down below. So go check it out wherever you're watching or listening, and make sure you subscribe. We'd love to have you back. I love putting out content 5 days a week. If you're crazy enough to listen to all 5 episodes every week and you're not hitting the subscribe button, I mean, come on, are we even friends yet? But anyway, we want to help you build a more harmonious business and life 5 days a week. We'll see you on tomorrow's episode of Harmonious at Lunch.